So as I mentioned, my name is Lisa Hill. I have been working for Credo actually for about 15 years. Credo was purchased by Infobase just last year, 2 years ago. So I'm a happy member of the Infobase family. I am a librarian, got my degree at the University at Albany, SUNY Albany, back in 2003, and have worked in public libraries. And my colleague Etta will introduce herself. We're very thankful that you're taking the time to learn more about our product today. There is a live question box. You can click and add as many questions as you have. It's our goal to answer all of your questions live today. And with that, Ed, I'll hand it off to you if you want to just give yourself a little intro and background as well.
Sure, thanks, Lisa. I'm happy to be here as well. Hi, everybody. My name is Etta Verma, and I'm a librarian as well. I went to school at Queen's College, CUNY, here in New York City, 20 or so years ago. And I've been at Credo for 2 years. Before that, I worked in academic and public libraries and in publishing at, excuse me, at Library Journal and School Library Journal. And now I'm at Credo. So today I'm going to start sharing my screen so that I can show you how to customize the material that you can find in our product called Information Literacy Core. And Lisa, can you see my screen now?
Yes, looks great, Etta.
Great, okay. So let me just show you first of all what's in this product, because I know there might be some people on the call who are new to this. And then I will discuss the customization options. And please do let us know along the way if you have any questions. You can add those to, is it called the Q&A, Lisa, or chat, or where is it?
I believe it's called questions. So
okay.
Go ahead and if you find that box, any box that you find that you can type in, we will see the questions and we'll answer them live for you.
Okay, great, thank you. So this is Information Literacy Core. And what it is a set of about 100 and growing videos, tutorials, and quizzes on various topics in information literacy. So this is the table of contents here. And I will scroll down a little bit so you can see it. There's 10 sections here, and they go from just a welcome message to, first of all, there's a pre-test. Our quizzes and tests are multiple choice. And the pre-test is a 20-question test to just gauge or benchmark where students are before they use any of our material, or in the library, or whether they're assigned it by professors or whatever. You just want to see, first of all, where they have any gaps or misunderstandings, so that you can then tailor the material you give them to their needs. Then the other sections here, starting with getting started with research. Each of these has a drop down, and you can see within there all the information that's inside. So the first tutorial in that section, I'll just open that up and show you so you can get an idea. You can see that there's quite a bit in here, and each of these other sections is the same thing. They drop down to give you more. So if you were to give, or if professors were to give out this tutorial to students, they would see all these various items on why information literacy is important, why, how it can benefit them to become more information literate, how it can benefit them in their classes, their homework, and even later life, just when they are consuming information out there in the world, whether it's from newspapers, the web, or whatever. And there's more sections here. I won't go through each of them, but I just wanted to show them briefly on the screen so you can get an idea of the material that's included. So we go through all that information literacy material, and at the end, there's some items on critical thinking. This was added last year, in about last November, and it is sort of based on the idea that we heard from employers out there that students were not coming to them with the right critical thinking skills, the right skills in being able to evaluate what they find for work purposes. And so the material in here is meant to help remedy that. At the end, we have here a post-test. It mirrors the pre-test. It's also 20 questions, but different ones on information literacy and critical thinking, covering all the items that are in here. And I'll be showing you today how you can customize any of this, edit it for your own needs. At the very end, we have a faculty module, and this is meant to bring faculty on board with this material. So,
Etta, can I interrupt you 1 second? We're getting a comment saying that they can't see or hear anything. Anyone out there, can you type into the question or answer that you can hear, or in the chat? Can you folks hear us? See the screen. If anyone can just confirm that you can in fact see it. I see a hand raised, but I don't know what that means. Let's see. Yes, Sally can hear us. And okay, sorry, Etta, please continue. I was just making sure. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. Go ahead, Etta, sorry.
That's okay, but what about the screen? Can people see that too?
I can see and hear, yes. Thanks, guys, I really appreciate it.
Great, thank you. You don't want to be talking into the void.
No, that's happened to me before.
I was talking about the faculty module. By the way, this will be recorded, so the person who did have issues probably can't hear me, but we will send out the recording afterwards. So hopefully anyone who has little tech issues like I did at the beginning will be able to use the recording later. So sorry, I digress. The faculty module is for professors. So the idea is that professors might be used to material, other databases in the library like that have journal articles and ebooks and that kind of thing, but they might not be just as familiar with something like this that's videos and tutorials and that is meant to address something that is for school overall rather than for a particular class or major. So there's explanations in here of what this all is, why information literacy is important. We had that before at the beginning, but this time it's from the faculty point of view, like how it can benefit their classroom. They will be able to get more from students if the students are not struggling, for a long time with, say, how to do citations. There's more time for covering the core material in the class that's not information literacy. We also have sample assignments and that kind of thing in here, a spreadsheet as well on how, here it is, how the material matches up with various standards like the ACRL framework and other international standards that cover information literacy. So I guess I should stop and see if anyone has any questions before I go on. That was just a table of contents of what's included, and I will cover next how to make changes to it.
And yes, feel free to just ask questions, put them into the chat box or the question, and I'll filter those answers to Etta, or those questions to Etta. Nothing right now, Etta.
Okay. So let me then leave that, and I will just scroll up here and show you again very quickly. We have an instructor area here that offers links so that you can start getting the material into professors' hands. And let me just find the right spot here. Okay, that's called the link constructor. Again, I won't go through in a lot of detail, but I just wanted to make people who are unfamiliar with the product a little more familiar. So we offer LTI links, those are for use in LMS, embed codes for libguides, and direct links that are just for use anywhere else on a regular website like your library's website or your school's website. And scrolling down, you can see that this reproduces the table of contents here, and each item has a link beside it. So that's how you get the material to students. The previous view where we saw the table of contents is meant for admin users, which are mainly librarians, to just become familiar with the material yourself so that you'll know how to use it in class and you'll know what to recommend to professors. But to actually give it to them, you go in here to the link constructor and grab whichever kind of link or links that you want and give them out to faculty. You can copy each link individually if you want to. If you don't want to give the faculty everything, like they're only looking for a certain video or what have you, you can just copy an individual link or links. Or using this button here, you can export everything, to all the links, to an Excel spreadsheet and hand them over all at once. So what some people do is download all the links and add them to somewhere like Canvas Commons or an intranet that the faculty have access to, so that they can grab the links themselves whenever they need them, and you're not, giving out links in the library all the time. So that's the link constructor.
Etta, we have a few questions.
Oh, go ahead.
One is, in your experience, what's the best way to get faculty buy-in to use it?
Well, this is something that I talk to people about on the phone a lot. That's part of my job, sort of coaching faculty with marketing the material. And so a lot depends on your particular institution. If whoever asked that, we can certainly set up a call. If you want to email me separately from this, I'm at, maybe you could add it to the chat, Lisa, my email address. It's Henrietta.
Yes,
oh, thank you. So I will be happy to talk to the librarian who asked that question on the phone, so we can get into real individual details about your institution. But overall, we have flyers and that kind of thing that are meant to be given to faculty, like, stuck on the notice board in the faculty lounge. That's just like one very rudimentary method, but we also have PowerPoints that describe our material and that you could use in, say, a presentation to faculty to tell them what this is. There's a lot of marketing material that I can send, and I will, when Lisa and I follow up later, probably today, with the recording of this meeting, I will send a link to the marketing material that we have. And it is generally what we call faculty facing, because those are the people who you need to win over. So we have lots of things for them. A libguide as well that lists all our material, and it's a faculty libguide. So there's information in there for faculty on, again, why information literacy is important, and various studies listed in there that describe to them studies that have been done about how information literacy can benefit students and faculty, like one from the Greater Western Alliance from a few years ago that gives real statistics on the gains students can make, and the gains to the classroom as well, because like I said before, if students are more information literate, you won't have to spend as much time in the classroom on these concepts as if they're just a blank slate information literacy wise. That would be difficult. So we'll follow up with that material. We have some webinars too that I can send. We recently did a webinar with a lady called Brandy Berbante. Maybe she's on the line today. Hi, Brandy, if you're there. And she has Credo Information Core for a couple of years now. And Brandy is just a machine with marketing. She's really good. She was formerly an outreach librarian at Nichols State University in Louisiana. She still works at that institution, but not in outreach. But her webinar covered her outreach job, and she described in there just loads of tips about how to get the material into faculty's hands. She doesn't really let go until they're using the material. That webinar is very good. She also describes getting not just Credo material, but databases in general that she has at her library into use, which I suppose will be helpful too, because you probably need to boost the usage of your other databases as well and your print material. So Brandy is all over that, and I will send you the links. Any other questions, Lisa?
We have just a few more. I would love to get you to continue with this, but quickly. This is from Sandy. Does this sync with learning management systems so the grades go automatically to a gradebook? And the second part of her question, does it have a way to create a badge or other certificate so students don't have to redo the material for every class?
Okay, hi Sandy. Yes, actually I'm on the screen here where you would find LTI links. These are for use in an LMS. And there's an initial setup where someone in your, let's say you have Canvas, I'll just pretend, right? But it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be Canvas. We work with all different LMSs. So someone at your school who has admin access to Canvas would initially have to add a key, secret, and launch domain that we provide to Canvas so that Credo and Canvas can kind of talk to each other. That initial setup is just a one-time thing, and after that, your IT department or the Canvas administrator doesn't have to be involved anymore, because you would go in here and get these LTI links and distribute them to faculty. And when they add those LTI links to a Canvas class, and we have instructions for them how to do that, it's just like you asked, students who take a quiz or the pre or post test through that LTI integration, the grade will sync to the Canvas gradebook. And your second thing was about badging, and we do not offer badging, sorry, but they still don't have to take the quiz over and over. There's a couple of scenarios there. If students students can take the same quiz in different classes if they want to, or if the professor wants them to take it even though they took it before, that's possible. But there's a setting in here where if when students are finished at the end of their quiz, they can email their grade. So the student can email the grade to one or more people, so they can email it to their professor and themselves. And once they have that grade, under their belt, they could show the next professor the email to show how they had completed it already, and they don't need to do it again. Or the other option is that we have a system called Credo Insights here. This is where we record grades and usage data. And this is, a bit more involved with the library, but you as a librarian would have access to the students' grades in here, and the professor of the second class would be able to come to you and see who had taken it already and who had not. But the email option is probably easier because you don't have to be involved in giving out grades in the library in that way. Does that answer the question, Sandy? Or do you have anything else? Or does anyone else have any questions?
There are a few, but why don't you continue, Etta, and we'll filter in some questions as we move forward. I just want to make sure we get through the presentation. Yes,
okay. I'm glad everyone is interested, though. That's really good. All right, so let me go to the area to make edits. This is meant to be the main part of the presentation. So I'm going to click here where it says View Course in Studio. Studio is our editing area. And taking its time for a second, but what you'll see in here when it opens up is that you will be able to edit our material, the existing material that's there, and you can also add material of your own if you want to. Like sometimes people have already created a video about their library, and they can add that in here so that the material is more, locally focused. Okay, so now what you see is, I'll just, scroll for a second. This is the table of contents just like you saw before, but it's now a different interface because instead of trying to play the material, watch the videos and that kind of thing, you're trying to make changes. And you can change our text. You can't change the videos. So the videos are just sort of canned, sealed presentations, and you can't change those, but you can add your own. But what you can change are tutorials and quizzes, the textual items. So let me open one of those. Okay, so here's a tutorial called Developing a Research Focus. I'm going to open that and show you how to make edits. I hope I'm going to open it. Okay. So you choose the part within that you want to edit just by clicking on it. And now what you're going to see is, if you see here, this is the view that students see right now. So if you gave out those LTI links or other links to this item, students would, at the moment, see this text here in this image. And you can change that by clicking here, Edit. And what you see now is the same thing, only now it's editable. So you could go in and, just make changes to the text that's here, or move down to here and add more paragraphs if you want to. You could add links or other images, whatever you like. And then up here, there are formatting options. So you can just make it look the right way, format the paragraphs the way you want them to look. And the nice part is that it's not, doesn't have to be all in one go. So when you make changes in here, if you were going to do that and you click save, you'll have the option to either save the material as a draft or publish it now. So you can, if you want to make extensive changes, you don't have to do them all at once. You can just keep saving as a draft. And while you're doing that, students will still see this original material here. They won't see the new item that you're writing until you click publish. Right now, I'm not going to do that, so I'm just clicking cancel here to get back out. Let me then go back and show you how to change a quiz. Those are the two scenarios. You know, even if you want to change a different tutorial than this one, it still works the same way. And let me show you how to change a quiz. And you know, I'll pick a particular one, but changing the others works the same. So let's just find a quiz here. Okay, here's one, the research process. So I'm going to click on there. And again, open the part that I want to change. So we'll just pretend I'm going to change question 1. Just grab a quick drink. Okay, so again, what you see initially is what students see right now if they use this material. This is the question to them, or in this case, a statement. And then here are the multiple choice options. And you change those by clicking edit. So now you see the same text, it just looks a little different. It has all these coding and symbols that make it work as a multiple choice quiz. So here's the question to them, or the instruction. Here are the 3 answers, A, B, and C. And you see one has an X there. That means that that's the correct answer. So you can change any of these, but if you make enough changes that a different answer becomes the right answer, you would have to move the X, because otherwise students will get a bad grade. The question is, the answer is changeable. That's answer A there. You could make changes to that by adding more words or different words. And then after each item, there's this part here in these brackets. That's the feedback that students get. So if a student chose answer A, that's one of the wrong answers. So they would get a message saying, that's incorrect. And then they would get this feedback. The first step is such and such. So that's meant to sort of set them straight on what their mistake was. Most of our questions have 4 answers. This one just has 3. You can add a 4th here if you want to, or more. Just probably the best way would just be to copy the format of one of the other questions, so you have all the little symbols right and everything, and just make it into an answer D. And don't forget, one of the answers still has to be the correct one. Any questions on that?
Yes, we have a question, Etta. This is from Elsa. When changes are saved, are they permanent or changed again for a different course?
I don't know what you mean by changed again for a different course. Do you mean that, are you asking, Elsa, if there can be different questions and answers for different courses, like a different one for English 101, another one for your comm class?
She can fill that in, but Etta, why don't you let us start with, are changes permanent when you make them?
The changes are sort of as permanent as you want them to be. So when you save it, that's it. Nobody else will touch it. The only change will come if you want to change it again. You can go back in just like we did now and change the item that you've added. So I guess I would say it's semi-permanent. You can also go back. I'm going to cancel here just so we can see on the side. Over here, there's a list of versions. So if you want to, you can either go back in and make further changes to your edited material, or you can go back to a previous version, either the original version that we created or an interim version that you created. So it's all up to you. Nobody is going to touch it but you. We do release new material, but we don't overwrite what you did. So if you've made edits, they're as permanent as you decide them to be.
Etta, to clarify, if once you make the changes to the quiz, is that the quiz that all students in all courses see, or can you make multiple versions of the same quiz?
Oh, I see. I guess that was Elsa's clarification of the second part.
That was my clarification.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yes, just, yeah.
This material is global to your institution. So anyone at your school who has the link to this quiz would see the same thing. So it's not possible to make, this quiz only address sociology students, for example, but you can add quizzes. So I'm scrolling down. After any item in here, whether it's a quiz or a tutorial or a video, you have the option to add. So you can't somehow change this quiz that's already here to have different versions, but you can add a new version. So that's done here using this problem option. That means quiz. And you can, I guess what I would advise is you adding a multiple choice quiz, so it's not jarring to students that all the Credo quizzes are one way and then suddenly there's this new thing that's different. But that's up to you. But anyway, so you can add videos here. You would need the embed code from the video from YouTube or Vimeo or whatever you use. You can add a quiz like Elsa was asking, or more than one. HTML is just an empty box. So when I scroll back up, you get a box like this, only there's nothing in it. So you can just paste something in from Word that you want to give to students. Scroll back, and then we have this advanced option, and that's a combination of the others. So let's say you wanted to add your own video and a quiz to go with it. You can do that. Any other questions, Lisa?
Let's see, there's a bunch. Do the quizzes create question pools so that you can try to prevent cheating?
Oh, I understand. Yeah, we have what's called a question bank, and I will send instructions on this separately in the follow-up email. What people often do is either choose from that question bank. Over time, you could change them out too, so that if you think that students have all taken the quiz, a couple of years have gone by and this quiz is getting played out, you can go into the bank and make changes or delete some questions if you want to, so that you don't have to worry that students are cheating because they took the quiz before and they know the answers, or they're going to give the answers to students in another class. You can change what students see using the question bank. Or you can just add entire new quizzes yourself that no one will have seen yet. And I should say, any of these things, you're not on your own. When I said before that I'm often on the phone with people talking about marketing, I also do calls like this with individuals where we go through the particular case that they're working on, and I will walk anyone through it in a Zoom call or a phone call. Or in person if you're in New York City maybe, but mostly it's Zoom or phone. Happy to help at any point. Anything else, Lisa?
Why don't you continue, and we'll put more questions to you a little bit later.
Sure, okay, so I'm going back now. So we've covered two things now, which are kind of the meat of what people do in Studio. They change tutorials or they change quizzes. So now you know how to do that. One thing I probably should have mentioned in the beginning is that you can make a very small tweak that some people do just to make the material appear less generic. So you can change the title of our items. And what librarians might do is just add the name of their library or their school here. So it would say, why information literacy matters at Queen's College or what have you. So it doesn't appear so cookie cutter to students, It would look like it was made particularly for them, even though you might not really change the material that's inside. They don't know that. Yeah, so you can change the titles. And what else should I show you? You can move the material. So you might decide that a given section or subsection is better placed in a different part of the course. Maybe what we have here as our table of contents doesn't align with how your students move through their classes. So you can move it. These items all have these ellipses on them, and those become drag and drops. So let's say this getting started with research section, you thought it was better at the, different part of the course. You just mouse over the ellipses there and drag and drop it at the new spot. And you can do the same thing with the subsections. Drag, you thought that why information literacy matters was better down here or wherever, you just drag it. And it can go back to, that's not permanent either, unless you want it to be. You don't have to put it back. Oh, right. So I was just going to mention that moving material is only really relevant if you're giving out links to the whole course to students. If you're giving them a link to a video or a tutorial here and there, they won't necessarily know where it appears in the course, and it doesn't really matter to them if they're only watching that one item. But if you're giving out there is a link you can get to the entire course, and then the order comes into play because students would see the whole thing. Let me just look at my notes here and see what else I was going to do. Oh yes, you can hide material. This comes up when one person was saying that a quiz, they didn't want students to be able to cheat. Sometimes people hide the quizzes because they think that a given quiz has been used a lot of times and they don't want to use it anymore. Let me show you how to do that. It works the same for the other things though. So let's say you were going to hide this quiz here called thesis statements. You go into these this configure icon here, and there's an option called visibility. And there's different options, but the easiest one is just to hide the entire subsection. And then it would be still visible to you in this admin area because you might want to bring it back at some point and it's still part of your subscription, but students wouldn't be able to see it. You would see a note in here saying something like for staff view only. So it would still be sitting there. In case you want to bring it back, you would just go back in here and this would be clicked. Instead, you go back to showing the entire subsection, and then it will be unhidden. If you have a subscription and you're thinking of hiding material, it's best to do that up front because, before you give out the links, because if students try to use a link to a hidden item, they'll get an error message. So do your hiding before you give the links out. You might just notice that this looks a bit different. It's turned a kind of orange color here, and there's this option. That's because that's the quiz that I was just in, making edits or pretending to make edits. So now the edits are in draft mode only, and you would have to click here, publish, to make them live. So that's why that looks a little bit different from the others. I'm going to look back into the quiz for a second because there's something I forgot to show you. Okay. Let me just make sure I know the right area. I want to show you how to change the weight of a question for grading purposes. Yeah, I knew I'd do that. Sorry, I'm in the wrong. I'm in the wrong area. Let me go back.
And while Etta is looking for the area she's looking for, we did start a little late. So Etta and I will happily stay a little bit past our 45-minute mark to answer all your questions. And again, we will send everyone a follow-up with the link to this recording. But so don't panic. If you have questions and you have the time to stay past the 45 minutes, we'll get to all of them. Sorry, Etta, go ahead.
I can't find what I was going to show. Let's do some questions, and I will fiddle around with it while I'm talking. I apologize.
There is a follow-up question from Elsa about the question banks you were talking about earlier. Can question banks contain customized questions?
Yes, they can.
Okay, that was easy.
And once again, yeah, again, I would help you load those, Elsa, if you want.
And this is from Relinda Ruth. And Relinda, thank you so much for saying this. This isn't a question, it's a comment. She says, for others who are considering a subscription, we subscribe to the information literacy packet. Those of us using it absolutely love it. Our problem is convincing more faculty to use it because they're often reluctant to change. I just needed a refresher because I'm going to be encouraging its use heavily prior to the fall semester. So thank you very much for that feedback, Relinda. Another question we have here is, it's from Victoria. How would you suggest usage of this product if IL is not part of the core courses offered in the university, but we have single one-off lesson invitations from faculty?
Okay. I would suggest that you could in that case use our libguide and direct link options, because you're not going to be using LTI. You know, the faculty in this case are not going to be putting it into their classes, it sounds like, if it's not a core subject there. So what you can do is make a libguide, and we have one that you can copy, and it lists all our material. You would just have to add your links to it, because the links are custom to your institution. And you can go in here and pick and choose what you think you want to present in that class that you're talking about, and add it to a libguide so it's ready to go. You could always ask the students to have a look at the material the night before, as homework, and then when you're in the class the next day or whenever, they will have a little bit of it under their belt so that you won't have to try to cover everything in the one shot. I think, that's really difficult to do, as you know. So students would have something already learned, if they do the homework, and be hopefully ready to engage in a meaningful way with you when you get to the class. It's also possible to, what some people do, especially in grad schools, where, it's assumed that this stuff is already known by students and they don't have to take it in class. You can add the entire course to your website, your school's website, or your library's website, and just leave it there for students who need to go in now and then themselves. It's not covered in a class maybe, but they still need, how to understand the new version of APA style, let's say. You could always just have it there waiting for them as needed, so that, it's not in a class, but they can still get it somewhere.
Great. Thank you, Etta. We have another question. This is from Carrie. I'm not sure we're ready to offer a whole course. Is there any reason why we wouldn't simply share the links to selected videos and tutorials, for example, via pre-existing libguides or Canvas sites?
No, there's no reason. The whole course can be kind of overwhelming. So I think most people sort of cherry pick what they want to present to students and leave the other material aside. And that doesn't mean you'll never use it maybe, but you don't have to, take on that whole thing at once. You can go in and just use the links to individual items that you find are best for your students at the moment, and leave the others in the wings.
Wonderful, thank you. This is from Maya. Will students have to log in to access content when provided with the link?
No, there's no way for them to even log in. We don't offer that. Well, they would have to log into your proxy server if they're at home. They would have to log in that way, but they wouldn't log into Credo. It depends where they're finding the links. So if you add LTI links to your LMS, they would log into the LMS class, and then they would directly get into the Credo material without further authentication. And same with the embed codes that are used in libguides, or there are direct links that are used just on the regular website. They would just need to authenticate that they're a student at the school by logging into the proxy, or using, being on a computer with the right IP address in the library or whatever. They don't have to authenticate further, and they can't even. We don't have that.
Okay. We have a follow-up. It's not a follow-up, it's another comment from Elsa, who says that the cherry picking of modules has worked very well for her in her library.
Oh, good. Okay.
And then from Sandy, who has worked in marketing in the past, for those, when we were talking about the best way to market this product internally, she suggests to find one faculty champion and then work with that person to utilize the system, and they will become your best internal salesperson. So thank you for that, Sandy, as well.
Yeah, great idea. Any other questions?
I'm just making sure there's a lot of mixed in with like thank yous and things like that. So I'm just making sure that I've gotten them all. There's one at the beginning. Let me get back there. Okay. This is from Brian. Can librarians use this product to do information literacy, about using the library in databases?
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. That's one thing, and hi Brian, that's something that people do in terms of customization. So we have a section on how to use databases in general, And one of the tweaks you could do is go in there and add links to your databases, or at least mention your databases. So, you know, again, it's not so generic, and it leads to your material, so you'll also bump up your usage numbers. I just want to find that item for you. Sorry, I know the silence is odd. Here we go. We have these items on choosing and using databases. So you could go in here and edit the material like I did before. In this case, you would be adding. You would just type, you know, don't forget your library has, you know, Progress, whatever, or EBSCO, this or that, and here's the link to get to that material. Then you could also change the text. So let's say I'll go into here, this tutorial on choosing and using keywords. Let me open the introduction. Okay, so, you know, you can see what it says already. So maybe you could go in and edit and add a further bullet point and say, you know, how to use the A, B, and C databases at your library to conduct research on, you know, whatever you're doing research on there. Let's say your students all have a big capstone project that they have to do. You could add that here, you know, find material for your capstone project from such and such databases, and here are the links. I hope that answers your question, Brian, but do clarify there in the chat if you have anything else.
Etta, we have a question from Robert. If we were to use the product as a whole course, how much time would that take? How much time would a student need to go through the entire course?
I don't know off the top of my head, but we do have an estimate of that on our help site, and I will send you a link to that afterwards. It's many, many hours, I know that much, but I just don't want to guess off the top of my head. Clearly, I have not done it myself. Maybe I should.
And we are getting questions about cost. I don't think that's something that we have at the ready. I certainly don't, but we will include, you know, our pricing information in our follow-up. We'll give you what we can. Any other questions? I'm just there. The questions are so filled with little comments and thank yous and things like that. So I'm just making sure that I have hit everything. Oh, here's another question from Robert. Do we have a pre-made course constructed in Canvas that we'd be able to share with admins based on InfoLit Core?
No, we don't. I guess you could use the text of the libguide for that. You know, our libguide is copyable, so you could, you know, paste the text of it into Canvas and add the links there, except it would be LTI links there instead of embed codes. And I'll send that libguide afterwards.
Wonderful. We've quite a bit to follow up on. No, that's okay. I think I've. I'm sorry?
I just wanted to add from Brian there that people often do use Canvas Commons to add our material. And, you know, you can create a course in any LMS, you can create a course shell that faculty could copy into their own area. So go ahead, Lisa, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say that I think, oh wait, sorry if this was asked, let's see. How do we access results for assessment purposes? That question has not yet been asked, Joe. So how do we assess results for assessment purposes?
I will show you. So there's a couple of scenarios. First is if you use the material in LTI integration, so that means it's in your LMS. Then the grades go right to the LMS gradebook, and the faculty member would get them directly. They just get the grades for their class. You can also use the material in libguides, you know, as I've mentioned, and on regular websites. And in that case, the grades don't go to the LMS gradebook. There's no connection. Instead, students will have the option to email the grade to themselves and, well, to anyone. So they usually would choose themselves and their professor. And as well, the grades would be saved in this system here called Credo Insights. Let me open this up and show you. This is where you can see assessment and usage data. So let me show you assessment here. We're in a test course, so I'm not showing you any students' actual grades. Don't worry. If students come in through the LMS, they don't need to give us their name or anything like that. It's already pushed to us from the LMS. Whereas if they come in through Proxy Integration or IP, then they will get a form asking them, a pop-up form asking them to type in their name and email address and the professor's name and the class. And we can also make drop-down menus of your classes and your professors if you want to, because otherwise the data can get kind of messy if the student types this, the professor's name in a different way. But so here's just some, pretend usage by us Credo staff. And this is what you would see. This is an assessment report. So this is all the assessments at a, pretend school and the average of all students' grades on those assessments. And then you have filtering options to see more detail. So you can see how students did on each question. Remember, the quizzes are multiple choice. So you can see how they did on each question, the score distribution, and the answers that they chose. The answer option comes up if students didn't do well in a particular quiz. You can see the answers.
Oh, sorry, I lost you a second.
Oh, am I back?
You are, or I am. One of us was lost for about 5 seconds, but that's okay.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, yeah. So I was just saying you can see the answers that students chose. So if you think that the students didn't do well, like look, the Credo staff got a 40 here, you can go and see what answers they gave and where they went wrong, and fill them in next time in class. There are also these compare by options. So you could see, for example, how the various courses did on the quizzes, the courses at your school, the different instructors' grades. Learners is a big one. This is users, which are mainly students. So you'll be able to see the grades by person. And term, course run is what we saw before. That's the entire duration of your course, all the grades over all time. Terms are months in our usage here, so you could see the students' grades by month. The same options are available here, only there are drop downs, so you could choose a particular person a particular student whose grades you want to see instead of seeing everyone. The list can get quite long, so you might just want to use the search box instead, and you can do that.
Did you answer this already, Etta? I apologize. I've been watching the questions rather than watching your screen. How do you see aggregate results for all students, either for a specific class or for any class, in the case of wanting to know how all first-year students did on the quiz and which questions they struggled with? Okay, so you have well, first of all, you want to see all the quizzes. So you're choosing to view by assessment here. That's what's already on the screen. And you would go in here and choose all the first year courses. You just check them all off and limit your view to just first year classes. And then you can limit further. If you only want to see a particular month of their usage, you can do that. You can click off several months that make a semester. And then the results would be whatever you had chosen. So here you would be seeing how all the first year classes did on, say, culture and citizenship during February, March, and April of 2020, or what have you. And you can also download it as an Excel spreadsheet. You can also see the grades here as a table. So there's different views you can use. And here there's the option to print and download the grades there. You can print and download. So, you could get this out into like end of semester reports if you want to, or accreditation reports. You can just get our material out of here. Sometimes you'll get a message that there's too much data to show. Like if you really have hundreds or thousands or more of uses, you won't be able to view them all in these bar graphs, but you always have the option to download the CSV. It's there for you
all the time, not only if there's too much data to show here, even if there's only a tiny bit of data here, you can still get it as an Excel spreadsheet. But if there's tons of data, this will be your only option.
Etta, does this product meet FERPA?
Yes, and I can send details about that afterwards too, as well as our information about ADA compliance.
And then Robert has a follow-up. He's a little bit confused still. Is it possible for students to have their own accounts to use InfoLit Core instead of going through an LMS? And would they have their own personal assessment results?
No, students don't have individual accounts, but they also don't have to go through the LMS. They can use it in libguides or just using our direct links on a regular website. And then they would initially be anonymous, and they remain anonymous if they only watch a video or take a tutorial, but they would get a pop-up form asking for their name and email address and the professor's name on the class if they take an assessment, because then they have to be credited with their grade. And the student won't have this overall view of their progress. No, they will just have their grades. So a student wouldn't be able to see, all their grades at once for all their classes, for example, all the quizzes they've taken in here. They would just see the one for the quiz they are taking at the moment. These aggregate views are for admin use only. It is possible for us to create new admin logins. There's no cost either. You can just have as many admin logins as you want to, because sometimes professors want this extra information about their classes. So we can set those up for you, but students wouldn't have the admin login. As well, we were able to switch off the editing capability. So you could, if you're giving out admin logins to professors, you could give them one that doesn't have editing permission, because you don't want them changing the material. You only want them to use this assessment area.
Excellent, thank you, Etta. We'll do two more just to follow up or just end on the hour. How frequently are the videos updated?
There's an update twice a year, but not each time. We change whatever, we survey our customers before the updates and ask what they need, or often just when I'm on the phone, I hear from people about what they want. Sometimes something just comes up in the educational landscape, like APA releases a new version like they did last year, and then obviously we would release new material on that. So over a few years, everything is updated, but twice a year you get something updated or new material altogether. So we just did the summer update, for example, and there are about 6 new items, I believe. So there's a tutorial and a quiz on the new version of APA style. I know I keep mentioning that, but it's just looming large for us at the moment because of the change. And we have some other videos on, new videos on synthesizing research that you find. So, after you've done all our tutorials and quizzes and everything on searching for material and finding it, how do you then go ahead and take out the nuggets that you want and synthesize them into a research paper? That's what this summer's update is about. Summer is the major update. In the winter, we do a smaller one that might just have little tweaks or correcting errors, that kind of thing. But in the summer is the major one. We do it when students are not around, so that it doesn't interrupt your classes. And when, let me just clarify, Lisa, when we release new material, it doesn't overwrite what you have. So sometimes people choose not to accept the new material. They just want to keep using the old one for whatever reason. Like, for example, APA again. Some schools are still using APA version 6. So they don't want the APA version 7 right now. It's still part of their subscription and they can choose to make it live at any time, but they wouldn't do that right now for whatever reason there might be.
Okay, great. One comment from Elsa, who says that their institution uses a libguide for the course and many instructors add the link to their LMS. That's just a comment for anybody that has questions about how you might deliver this product to end users. We had one question, will we receive the video of this demonstration? Yes, Evelyn, we will send this out to everybody. I'm not sure if it's going to be this afternoon or maybe tomorrow, but you will get it. And then just the last question here. This is from Sally. What is to stop one student from taking a quiz and putting another's name on it?
Yes, they could do that. That's the short answer. I mean, through LMS, access is more secure because they would have to sign in as the other student before they would be able to access the quiz. So that seems more cheat proof. But yeah, if they're taking the quiz through proxy access, they would be able to sign in as another student. That's true.
Everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, apologies for our weird opening panic, but I think we made it through. We appreciated all of your questions. Etta, thank you so much for answering all of these questions.
You're welcome.
And we really appreciate you, and we'll be following up with you all a little bit either later today or tomorrow.
All right, thanks very much, everybody. I enjoyed it. Bye.
Have a great day.
Thank you, you too.